I
man.
was going to transition to Warriors Grizzlies, you know.
Yeah,
How are
man.
you feeling about these flagrant fouls between Dylan Brooks and Draymond Green?
Yeah, so as we just saw, news just came in that Dylan Brooks will be suspended for the next game. I think it was well warranted after I had watched the video again on what happened to Gary Payton. He wasn't even close to being into the play.
Yeah.
And he came back, dude, and he not only whacked him in the head, he fractured his elbow, bro. And I know that he didn't do it personally, but like that's a really bad look. And for someone like Dylan Brooks, who's had his moments for not dirty
Scuffles.
plays, but just bozo plays, not smart plays.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was warranted a suspension, but I don't know, man. When you look back on the play, he really whacked him in the head, and it looked rough. And Gary Payton is a huge piece for the Warriors. It
Yeah.
that Steve Kerr's gonna have to make a huge adjustment because Gary Payton was looking real good on that John Morant defensive assignment. Like he wasn't
No
locking
doubt.
him up. No one's gonna lock up Ja, but at the same time, he looked great on John Morant, and we also saw that Ja took over when he was being guarded by Steph Curry. So he's going to have to change his whole defensive scheme and how they're going to guard Ja because Gary Payton was a huge
Yeah.
asset as to how they defended him. So
I feel
do
like
I think the suspension was warranted? After looking at it, I do.
I
I
think so.
personally do. What are you thinking?
I feel like it was a makeup call for Draymond. You know, like I don't think Draymond should have been ejected. I think a flagrant one would have been okay. And
I
I
totally
think
agree with
I think
yes.
that honestly, I really do feel like the referees have lost control of the series, and they're
Yeah.
trying to like, I guess, put a false image of like they're controlling it by suspending Dylan Brooks by like saying like anything of this level, this is going to be the further action from this. But I mean,
It's
Gary,
not.
yeah, I think it is kind of soft. And like Gary Payton, like you said, is a huge blow. You know, he was the
Yeah.
primary defender on John Morant. But I think
Mhm.
that like I personally didn't like Gary Payton on John Morant because like he was just bullying him in the paint. Like the only way to stop
True.
John Morant is to put a bigger defender on him. Like in my
Yeah,
opinion,
very
you
true.
know, like I think Kaminga on John Morant would be
Yes.
a amazing matchup. Like
I agree with that too, and he's gonna get that experience. That
yes,
not only is that like great experience for him right now, but that's gonna set him up for later.
yeah,
And
definitely,
I was thinking the same thing too. I feel like that's the only way that obviously they wouldn't start Kaminga, but he's gonna
yeah,
have to get they're gonna have to bring someone else up because I don't know who else is gonna guard Ja at a decent rate. And I do agree with you that it would have to be Jonathan because he's big,
yeah,
long, he's athletic, and I think I don't know how good he is defensively, but I think that just like the potential of having him there to guard Ja, I
mm-hmm.
think that would be their best option. They would have to look towards him, but I don't know, man. I do agree with you that they did lose. They did lose some control over the series in a whole, and it just sucks because, like you said, man, it feels like they're making up for that Draymond call, and
yeah,
you hate to see it because this is on a bigger scale. You can see that happen throughout the game where it's like, oh, we missed a call here. Next call is just a makeup call. And the fact
makeup
that they're
calls,
doing
man.
that on a bigger scale with suspensions, it doesn't make sense to me, and it's a bad look. It really truly is a bad look, and I don't like it, man. I really
Yeah,
don't.
I really do feel like if it was any player besides Draymond who committed that foul on Brandon Clark, it wouldn't have been a flagrant two.
No, yeah, for sure. He's got a
Yeah,
reputation, man, and it
it
sucks.
sucks. Like that's the type of player he is, you know, and like he's getting penalized for being that type of player. He's penalized for being a physical player. Like,
Yeah, and I get it, but I've also seen some tweets resurface of certain plays that he had where like he's earned that reputation
yeah,
himself because he's had some plays, man, where it's non-basketball like. And I don't know, when you re-look back on the play, they showed it a million times on the broadcast when it was happening, but the way that he pulled him down and like it's just there's no room for that. But at the same time, I don't get the kicking. I don't get kicking him out for it. I don't understand it. But I at the same time I do think that he has warranted himself on that own reputation because
yeah,
he's had his Draymond moments, man, and
he
I
definitely
don't know,
has, man.
and it kind of sucks, but at the same time, like I'm not surprised. But I was watching his post game interview, man, after the last game, and he was looking upset, and he had this look in his eye where he just, I have a feeling this next game, it's,
It's
I
personal for
think
the
the
Warriors.
Warriors, yeah, I think that the Warriors are gonna rally. Who you got for that game? Who you got winning?
I think that I don't think Memphis is going to be able to play in Golden State. I think Golden State's going to like take both games by like a large margin, and
I agree with you.
I think the only reason to counter Gary Payton getting hurt if you're Steve Kerr would be to start Jordan Poole. Like I
Yeah,
think that obviously you're gonna. Like Draymond talked about it. We talked about it with Harden and Luka. You're not gonna stop John Morant, right? Like
you're
he's
not.
going
You're
to
just
get
not.
his, but Ja will
Mhm.
tire out. I think that the Warriors can shoot the three better than any team we've ever seen in NBA history, right? Like you
Oh
start
yeah,
Poole, Curry, Thompson. That's three guards who are capable of scoring 30 every single night. Like I don't
exactly.
think Memphis has the offensive model to keep up with the Warriors, if that
I
makes
agree with
sense.
you.
Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. And I think that they kind of got lucky when Jaren had his big game.
Yeah.
I when
They
Jaren had
lost
his
that
big
game.
game, was that they
They
did
did lose that game, yeah.
exactly. And I also don't trust the Warriors because the last game they shot awful. Like they
Mhm.
didn't. I think they only made 5 threes throughout the game. I'm pretty sure that they were like 5 for 24 between Steph, Clay, and Poole.
Yeah.
And I know that they're gonna go back to the Chase Center, and there's no way that they're gonna shoot that again. And you have to think that they shot that bad, and that game was still close.
Yeah.
So even if the
Exactly.
Warriors have just an average shooting night, they win that game. And I don't bet on them shooting making another 5 threes. Like I just don't
Yeah.
think it's gonna play out that way.
I don't see Josh scoring 47 and Chase Center.
No,
Like,
I don't either. I wouldn't be surprised because he's that guy, but I also think that they're gonna game plan around him. Or if they do, he might, and they might just bet on like, all right, John Morant, you can beat us, and they're just
yeah.
gonna hope that the others don't contribute as much. And I would honestly be willing to bet on that. Jaren has been kind of up and down. He's been getting in a lot of foul trouble. Not smart defensively. His offensive game is very inconsistent. I want to see that man get more physical in the paint.
He
With
just
his,
can't stay on the court, man.
he can't, and it sucks because he's one of the better defenders in the league. I mean, he
Mhm.
led the league in block shots, and he's very impactful. But you have to learn, bro. Like
Yeah.
he's forcing himself out of these games, and it's hurting him. It really truly is. So I don't know, man. I do got the Warriors. I think that they're gonna rally that game for sure.
What makes Jaren Jackson so good is what makes him so like reckless. You know, like
Exactly.
he's so undisciplined on defense and he's so reckless, but that's what makes him like a premier defender. You know, he's like
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
he's like Bam Adebayo level, if not
Oh yeah,
if not the same level of defense. Like he is an amazing defender, and he like when they switch on to Jaren Jackson, it's not really a mismatch, but like
no,
he
dude,
just cannot defend without fouling.
exactly. And that's something that he really needs to work on. Like personally, that's what separates Bam as a defender from
Yeah,
everyone else. Is that he's smart defensively, and I think that's also due to just like Bam's surrounding. Like he has a bunch of veterans on that team, and I don't think Jaren has many people to look towards to be like, all right, how can I improve myself defensively? Who do you have? Steven Adams, who's a great player,
hasn't
but
played in 6 games. You know,
yeah, exactly. So like I don't think he has anyone to kind of like look towards besides someone just saying like, dude, you got to be less aggressive on defense. But they also want him to be aggressive on defense. So I feel like that's just kind of like a mental aspect that he has to go through. We also have to understand that this team is still so young. Like
extremely.
this is their second time in the playoffs, and they're playing amazing. I truly didn't think that they were gonna play this good against the Warriors. I thought that they were gonna have their dud games, but they've kept it close every single time, man. And I truly think that from that first series, they grew up so much because that
Yeah.
first series against Minnesota, both teams just had so many just young player moments where it's like, what are you doing?
I feel like
Slow
they're still kind of
down.
having those though, you know,
They are for sure.
like John Morant grittying. Like I don't know if you saw that video of him like he literally grittied in the first quarter after Desmond Bain hit a three, and then they ended up losing that game. They
Lock in.
have a lot of immature actions, and like
They
they
do.
do have like a young coach too. Like Taylor Jenkins is obviously a great coach. He's young as well, but like
Yeah.
they have immature game. Like they're playing
Yeah,
with
for
fire
sure.
with the Warriors, dude. Like they are used to being trash talked to. You know.
Oh
Like,
yeah, for sure.
I think they're playing with fire. I wouldn't be
Oh
surprised
yeah.
if Golden State beats them by 15 next game.
Dude, I'm thinking the same thing. I truly think that they're gonna come out. They're gonna be pissed. They're gonna have a chip on their shoulder, especially chip on their shoulder, Draymond wise, Gary Payton wise. Like they're gonna come out pissed, and they're gonna. I think that they're gonna punch him in the mouth, and then Grizzlies are gonna be like, "What do we do now?"
Exactly.
And I feel like this next game is gonna be. It's gonna take a total turn in the series in itself, but I think that if the Grizzlies somehow win Game 3, they can find a way to win the series in a whole.
I think so
Because
too.
I think that this next game, this is going to be the biggest game of the series. Even if the Warriors win this one and they lose the next one and they go back to Memphis, I think that I trust the Warriors enough to the point where I could see them coming out in 6 or even in 7. But I think that if the Grizzlies win this next one, I think that they could truly just come out with the series in
Yeah,
itself. I don't know how, but it's so big. This next game is huge. This is going to be a
enormous.
big deciding factor for the series in itself, man. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah,
Really truly is. It's going to say a lot about Ja and
for
himself. I
sure.
think this game is going to talk a lot about Ja and how he's not going to obviously not bounce back, but how he's going to respond. He had a big game. How are you going to
Hmm.
respond to after having a big game? Are you going to stay consistent? Obviously, he's probably not going to drop another 47 piece. Clip me if I'm wrong and say that if he does, but at
Yeah,
the same time, man, like this is going to be big on him as to who he is as a player because I think he's the main factor in the series. So I think that this next game is not only gonna speak a lot about the Grizzlies, but about Ja and how he responds to having a big game. And can you string those big games together? You know what I'm saying?
I think I think the Grizzlies are in a dangerous position because I feel like Steve Kerr's one adjustment away from taking John Moran out of the series. Like
Exactly. Very
I
true.
truly think that if the Warriors switch to a zone defense, it would
They're
get
gonna be
ugly
screwed.
really fast. You know?
It might, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, why wouldn't he even try it at this point? Like, I can't say what do you have to lose, but he's been killing you practically all series. He's had his iffy games and whatnot,
Hmm.
but he's been killing you all series. So I wouldn't be surprised if he were to come out and be like, "All right, let's run a zone and let's make their shooters beat us." Because you got to think that if they're gonna run like a 2-3 zone,
Hmm.
God's gonna have to attack the paint. They're gonna trap in on him, and he's gonna have to kick it out to someone else. And I'm pretty sure that they're okay with Jaren hitting a couple threes
Also think
or
about Brooks
Bane
being
shooting
out next
threes.
game as well. It's gonna be Kyle
Exactly.
Anderson starting. Like you live with that, dude. Like
I agree, but I don't know, dude. Dylan Brooks has looked
he
rough,
has
man.
played bad. Yeah.
He's had some very ill-advised shots where you're just looking at him and you're like, no, dude, what are you doing? He's a chucker for sure. He's definitely inconsistent, but I don't know. I think that Dylan Brooks being out, it might be kind of nice for
It might.
Memphis
Yeah. It
because
might.
I don't know. I'm not digging. I think he's held them back, and he's had his moments where he's held the team back multiple times.
I
So
definitely
I
see
don't
that
know. Who
for
knows?
sure.
Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. I'm not quite sure, man.
It might be.
Not quite